Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina, the Republican nominee for governor who has a history of making inflammatory remarks, well, he once called himself a black Nazi on a pornographic messaging board. Now, CNN is reporting this today. Shortly before the report was published, Robinson issued a video statement vowing to stay in the race for governor and denying having made the statements. The report described a number of posts that CNN said it had traced to Robinson, including him defending slavery. It also said that Robinson, a strident opponent of transgender rights, made comments about how he enjoyed watching transgender porn. There's also reports that Mark Robinson is signed up on the Ashley Madison site. That's a website where folks who are married sign up because they want to meet people to have an affair with. Republicans are desperately calling for Mark Robinson to step down so that they can nominate another candidate for the gubernatorial race, which is coming up in less than 50 days. And the group that urged Democratic primary voters to cast uncommitted primary ballots in protest of the Biden administration's support of Israel's war in Gaza announced that it would not endorse Kamala Harris, saying she had not responded to its request to meet with Palestinian Americans who have lost loved ones or for a meeting about stopping arms shipments to Israel. But this group also urged its supporters to vote against Donald Trump, saying he had bragged about accelerating the genocide against Palestinians. The same group also said they don't support any third-party candidates because to do so would be tantamount to supporting Donald Trump. And a wave of local and regional Teamsters Union branches in battleground states rushed to endorse VP Harris after the National Teamsters Unit declared that it would not endorse a presidential candidate for the first time in nearly 3 decades. Teamsters regional councils representing hundreds of thousands of members and retirees in Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Western Pennsylvania endorsed VP Harris hours after its president, Sean O'Brien, revealed yesterday that the union would withhold its endorsement. Now, O'Brien said neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union. Well, hundreds of thousands of union members feel differently because separately, those Teamsters in major cities, major battleground cities, as well as cities like New York, Long Beach, California, and Miami, as well as the union's National Black Caucus, have endorsed Harris and are urging members to vote for her, saying that she is the only candidate in the race that has consistently supported union members. Now, as of today, at least 8 of those regional councils covering 14 states, as well as 10 local unions, have endorsed Harris. That amounts to about 500,000 Teamsters members. Interesting to note, no regional or local Teamsters organizations have endorsed Donald Trump. And Vice President Harris is headed to the battleground state of Michigan today, where she is scheduled to be joined by Oprah Winfrey for a live-streamed event called Unite for America. The event is aimed to register voters and bolster support for the Democratic nominee. Over 140 grassroots organizations are expected to be on this call, which some say may top 1 million people on a Zoom call for a presidential candidate. And 4 years later, the tobacco industry is banking on Donald Trump's chaotic approach to public health. And many of these big tobacco companies, in turn, are supporting him for president. They believe he's pliable on policy, and as they confront a new challenge to their bottom line, that is efforts by regulators in the Biden administration to ban menthol cigarettes, which represent 36% of the market, these big tobacco companies are banking on Donald Trump being their ticket to continuing to sell menthol cigarettes despite the enormous health risk that they cause. And new audio disputes rulings that stripped Jordan Childs of her Olympic gold medal are calling into question the ruling against her. Some of these audio tapes that have been reviewed and released say that the inquiry that was initiated happened within 1 minute of the score being shown in the arena. The new video evidence filmed by Religion of Sports, the documentary crew that followed her and her teammates around, captured audio of the event and the occurrence where she tried to challenge uh, Olympic the Olympic team, I guess the Olympic coaches, the Olympic judges who were challenging her victory and ultimately her medal. And finally, in the news today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he is skeptical that the federal government will appropriately handle the investigation into the uh, assassination attempts against Donald Trump. So DeSantis has assigned his own state officers to take the lead and to do their own work on the case. Now he's directed state prosecutors who usually take cases involving drugs and cyber fraud and human trafficking and other organized crimes. He's ordering these prosecutors to bring charges against the man suspected of pointing a gun through a fence at Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club on Sunday. Now, federal prosecutors and legal experts are saying this is dangerous territory, that Ron DeSantis has no business directing his state prosecutors to get involved in an investigation of this alleged attempt on Donald Trump's life. They say this is the purview of the federal government and that the DOJ, the FBI, and all of the federal agencies have it under control. They're telling Ron DeSantis to stand down. This is the news of the day, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. In this hour, I'm going to be one-on-one with Dr. D. Cordelay Corte. He is KBLA's National Political Affairs Analyst, and he's host of a show on this very network every day at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That show is called A More Perfect Union. You can check him out on at 1 p.m. every day, and that's 4 p.m. on the East Coast. So I'm excited to sit down and talk with Dr. Nee about all of this breaking news. And in hour two, we're talking about Black women and our health. There have been two startling reports out this week about Black women and healthcare issues. One of these have to do with the fact that Black women are far more likely to get C-sections than white women with similar medical histories. That's the conclusion of a new report of nearly 1 million births in 68 hospitals in New Jersey, and one of the largest studies to tackle this subject to date. Even if a Black mother and a white mother with similar medical history saw the same doctor at the same hospital, the Black mother, according to this report, was about 20% more likely to have her baby via C-section. Now, this additional operation on Black women, we know, can be very, very dangerous. We know just having any kind of surgery can put you at risk. And we know the high infant mortality rates and the high mortality rates for Black women during childbirth. The author of that study, Professor Janet Curie, who's a health economist at Princeton University, and as I said, she's one of the co-authors of the story. She's going to be joining me in this hour. She was recently quoted in the New York Times article about this story. So I thought it important to have the woman who was actually involved in authoring this story join us to help us understand why Black women are being used, what appears to be, as guinea pigs and being given unnecessary surgeries. Also in hour two, Dr. Ijama Okawandu is going to join us. She's a practicing OBGYN in Atlanta. She's also the co-founder of the Birth Squad. And this is an organization committed to empowering women to have safe, equitable, and transformative birth experiences. So I'm going to be talking to Professor Curie and Dr. Akwandu, pronunciation of her name, hope I got it right this time, Akwandu, be talking to both of them about this study about Black women in C-sections, but also this startling report out that Black women and white women get breast cancer at the same rate, but Black women 40 times more likely to die of breast cancer than white women. So there's a lot to talk about as it relates to Black women and our health. So make sure you stick around for hour two. And speaking of Black women and our health, what I'm thinking about in real time is the 28-year-old pregnant woman in Georgia who died from an infection. Now, Kamala Harris has been talking about this woman. Her name is Amber Nicole Thurman. She died almost 2 years ago after doctors delayed her care. They were grappling with what they could and could not do based on the state's restrictive abortion laws. These are called, as you will remember, by VP Harris, the Trump abortion bans. Remember during the debate with VP Harris and Donald Trump when he bragged that most of the country wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned? That was an absolute categorical lie. Most of the country has always favored women having the right to choose, having the right to abortion care, because they recognize that abortion care, like in the case of Amber Nicole Thurman, that abortion care is health care. So when Donald Trump tries to gaslight the American people by saying that people wanted Roe v. Wade overturned, he is lying. He is lying through his teeth. We know that this is false. We know that women want to have control over their bodies. We know that doctors in medical hospitals don't want to make these difficult decisions. They don't want to have to decide between, do I save the life of a woman like Amber, or do I risk being arrested, possibly jailed, and in one state for life, because I violated these really heinous abortion bans. Now, Thurman, or Amber Nicole Thurman, was a medical assistant. She was taken to Piedmont Hospital. This is in a suburb outside of Atlanta, after she had been vomiting and she had actually passed out. Now, her family always believed that she just died from the complications of pregnancy, but it was ProPublica that did a deep dive on what happened to Amber, and were able to reveal that doctors discovered that Amber had taken abortion medication and developed a rare complication in which there was some fetal tissue left in her uterus. Now, abortion cases nationwide in states like Georgia have been the subject of a lot of media attention, because so many women have had to grapple with these bans as they make decisions about carrying fetuses to term, as they make decisions about getting an abortion, particularly in a case like Nicole's, when she took an abortion medication, but it wasn't completely effective and it left her with this tissue. Now, this happens to be happening to her at the same time that Georgia had passed a law making abortions a felony with few exceptions. Now, the doctors at this hospital, they didn't know what to do, so they delayed her care. They delayed her care by 20 hours after she arrived at this hospital. So a procedure that literally could have taken place in the first 30 minutes of her arrival gets delayed for 20 hours. And by the time they did the surgery on Amber Thurman, it was too late. She had developed an infection. They couldn't do anything about it. And she died at 28 years old. And her mother told ProPublica that she just recalls her daughter asking her, please, please, please take care of my 6-year-old son. And that's what the family is doing. They're caring for Amber's 6-year-old son. But Amber died after routine medical care was delayed. Amber did not have to die. Amber did not have to suffer. Amber's 6-year-old son does not have to be motherless. So when Donald Trump says that the country wanted Roe v. Wade overturned, when he says that abortion bans are a beautiful thing, think about 28-year-old Amber Nicole Thurman. Think about her 6-year-old son, who's now 8 years old, who has to grow up without his mother because his mother went to a hospital. She did everything right, but yet she got to a hospital where doctors were wrangling over whether they could do a procedure or not. That is a routine medical procedure. There's nothing beautiful about that. There's nothing beautiful about a 28-year-old woman dying because she can't get routine medical care. Please remember Amber and her son in your prayers, and remember what Donald Trump said and what he is doing to women all over this country when you vote in this presidential election in November, because there ain't nothing beautiful about these abortion bans. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin Ultra Strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it.
Okay.
Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Okay, everyone, what did you think of the chocolate bar?
It's too chewy.
Feels kind of chalky.
Too much nougat.
I need to go brush my teeth.
Business is booming for Steph's small marketing research firm.
After all these focus groups, there's only one conclusion. I need more researchers.
And she's way too busy researching
Does this have peanuts?
to waste time researching resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertiri Plessy. Nefertiri felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm back, and Dr. Nee Corte is joining me in this hour. He is KBLA's National Political Affairs Analyst and correspondent. I think that's what he goes by. And he's also host of A More Perfect Union right here on KBLA, weekdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 4 p.m. for all you folks on the East Coast. Thank you, Dr. Nee, for joining me. Wow, there's a lot going on. We're less than 50 days out from this election, and it's getting scary.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Starting in North Carolina.
Yeah, Mark Robinson, he's got some explaining to do. Not Democrats, but Republicans are calling for him to step down after this story. There was news earlier in the day that there's going to be some blockbuster story coming out about him, and then the story drops. It's him calling himself a black Nazi. Him talking about liking transgender sex, him being signed up on the Ashley Madison website for folks who are married but looking to have an affair. What are Republicans going to do with him? And is it even feasible for him to step down given how close we are to the election?
Well, Areva, I think the deadline is today. It's Thursday. If he were to find his way off the ballot in North Carolina, but he's really put the Republicans in a pickle. And from what I have been following and what's been reported, there are a number of Republicans that are running away from him fast. The Trump-Vance campaign has already started to distance themselves from him. I understand that there was a campaign event that was scheduled recently, and he happened to catch COVID. And that was his excuse for not being able to join vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance. But this is no good. This is no good for the Trump-Vance ticket. You might have saw the same poll that I saw earlier today, where it's essentially a dead heat between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. 45.6% versus 45.3%. That is a dead heat. And you got to believe that this really terrible news story that really just shines a light on the hypocrisy that you and I have been talking about coming out of North Carolina over the course of many months. Lieutenant Governor Robinson isn't who he says he is. Remember back when he was railing against women's right to abortion, their reproductive rights? Well, guess what? Him and his wife had an abortion. The same person who's been railing against the rights of LGBTQ people actually appreciates trans porn, right? The same person, who has been called, sort of the second coming of Martin Luther King by former President Trump, is now having to answer a lot of questions that call his character into question, that call his integrity into question, and that call his candidacy into question.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned so many of the other inflammatory statements he's made, like trying to defend slavery. But Dr. Nee, this guy, in some ways, he's I guess you'd call him an anomaly, but in other ways, he's pretty emblematic of the kinds of candidates that Republicans oftentimes attach themselves to. I mean, it is not unusual for them to have a candidate like him that has a horrible past. We can only look to George Santos as one recent example of that, where the person is embraced by the party, as you said, Trump calling this man or comparing him to Dr. King. But his history was always known. Now, maybe not these details, maybe we got new details, but the inflammatory statements, the ignorance of this man has been known for a while.
You're right. It's been known for a while, but the Republicans tend to like a certain type of black guy in particular, running for governor, running for Senate. I'm thinking back not just to Herman Cain, who was probably much more qualified than Lieutenant Governor Robinson. I'm also thinking about, people like Herschel Walker in Georgia. I'm thinking about, folks like the candidate who ran for governor in our state of California. I'm thinking about, these very flawed individuals who are disconnected from community, who peddle in grievance politics, right? These are the types of folks that Republicans like to support until the real them shows up, and then they run like nobody's business.
That's what's so ridiculous. They knew this about him. They embraced him, gave him the family hug, brought him into the MAGA family. And as you said, J.D. Vance has distanced himself. Trump, we will never probably see him on the stage with him again. And he may not drop out because he's trying to save some kind of, face or, his ego. But clearly, it's going to be impossible for any Republican to stand up with a straight face and suggest that he's a candidate that should be running the state of North Carolina. But what does this do more importantly for that swing state? We know that Kamala Harris believes North Carolina is at play. Does this increase the chances that the Harris campaign could win in North Carolina because you have such a flawed Republican candidate running for governor?
This absolutely means that North Carolina is in play. It's in play. Not just in the gubernatorial race, but it's in play in terms of us retaining, control of the United States Senate. It's in play for the presidency. This offers another path for VP Harris to the White House. Folks like Terrence Woodbury, a pollster over at Hit Strategies, has been telling me this for months. Even long before President Biden decided to bow out from the race, that Vice President Harris had more paths to victory than he did. And that path includes North Carolina. It includes states like Georgia. It includes states like Pennsylvania, where it almost seems like the vice presidents in Pennsylvania just about every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And I don't know if you saw this recently that, the Harris Walz campaign just did a $6 million ad buy in Nebraska. Well, a lot of people say, well, Nebraska only offers one electoral vote. Well, guess what? The Harris-Walz campaign is not taking anybody's vote for granted. They are playing across the country. They are running like they are 10 points behind. And so this story coming out of North Carolina, putting North Carolina further into play is music to their ears.
Yeah. Depending on which poll you like, the New York Times poll says that Harris has a lead in Pennsylvania. Washington Post poll saying that it's a dead heat, and these polls kind of go back and forth any given day. One of these candidates is up a percentage points that are in the kind of the margin of error. So it's hard to know, but it's very clear that this is a close race and that Kamala Harris closed a lot of ground. She made up a lot of ground that Biden had lost once she got into the race. And we have to remind ourselves it was just July 21st. So she has done something remarkable that we haven't seen done ever in the history of politics. When we come forward, though, I want to talk about this union, the Teamsters. Sean O'Brien, very cozy with Donald Trump, but 500,000 of the Teamsters, the members saying, we don't care what the president is doing. We are going to support Kamala Harris, and they're going into these battleground states, making sure that their members are supporting Kamala Harris. What might this mean for this president who's only been in office for the Teamsters for 2 years? And what might it mean for swing state voters to have 500,000 Teamsters on the ground supporting Kamala Harris? When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us.
Right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The legal team for Marcellus Williams is continuing its fight to save their client's life. The 55-year-old Williams is set to be executed on Tuesday for the 1998 stabbing death of Felicia Gale in University City, Missouri. KMOV reports that attorneys for Williams have asked a federal court to take another look at a previous denial of an appeal alleging that potential African-American jurors were not chosen for Williams' 2001 trial because Williams is Black. Montana's largest college is hitting a milestone never before seen in Treasure State history. Officials say Montana State University's enrollment surpassed 17,000 for the fall semester, a number no other school in the state has ever accomplished. More than 3,600 of those students are attending the school for the first time. MSU also noted there was a record number of students from several demographics, including American Indian, Alaska Native, Hispanic, and African American students. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
A 3-vehicle accident in Monterey Park on the 60 East after Garfield Avenue has 2 left lanes blocked and stopped traffic up to 30 minutes from Whittier Boulevard. South LA's 110 South before Vernon Avenue. Expect some heavy delays up to about 10 to 15 minutes from Stadium Way as an accident is on the right shoulder. A stall in Hawthorne is blocking the carpool lane of the 405 South before Rosecrans Avenue. And heavy traffic from Sunset Boulevard is going to set you back for about 55 minutes.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A very painful season for the LA Sparks comes to an end tonight with their final game in Minnesota. The Sparks, 7-32, will finish with the most losses in a single season in WNBA history, and they will miss the playoffs for the 4th straight year. Magic Johnson, one of the Sparks' 6 owners, is not happy with the status of his team. He's promising to get more involved in team operations in the offseason, including the push to build the Sparks a practice facility, something the team does not have. The Sparks have been training at El Camino College in Torrance. Not having their own practice facility has become a major issue for the Sparks. Johnson said this situation will be addressed before next season. He also plans to evaluate the role of Coach Kurt Miller in 2 seasons with the Sparks. Miller is 24-56 heading into tonight's season finale. When Magic promises changes, things tend to happen. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out.
Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Sweet chocolate reward. Sweet chocolate reward.
This is not just the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat at Walgreens. This is the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat right after receiving all their vaccines in one trip. This is the sound of treating yourself, because you protected yourself.
Stop by or schedule both your flu and COVID-19 vaccines today and grab yourself a sweet treat while you're at it. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and Dr. Nee Corte is joining me in this hour 2. We're going to be talking about Black women and our health. Black women getting unnecessary C-sections when they give birth, and Black women dying so much at such a greater pace than white women once diagnosed with breast cancer. So make sure you stick around, because when you're talking about your health and things you can do to make sure you stay safe and stay healthy. Dr. Nee, Sean O'Brien, president of the Teamsters, 1.5 million union members, very cozy with Donald Trump. He spoke at the RNC convention. He met with Kamala Harris, but came out of a meeting and said that neither candidate had given him assurance or given the union assurance that they were going to be supportive of the issues that are important to them, which sounds a little strange given how much Biden and Harris have already proven themselves to be big supporters of the union, and given what Donald Trump has proven when he was in office in terms of how he appointed union busters to key positions in his cabinet. But nonetheless, Sean O'Brien's not giving an endorsement, something this union hasn't done in several decades. But these locals, these unions throughout these swing states saying, we don't care what our national office is doing. We are going to support Kamala Harris. Could this be a game changer for Harris? And what does this mean for the presidency, if anything, for O'Brien, when 500,000 of his members does something contrary to what he says the national organization is going to do?
Well, it does seem quite strange, Areva, that Sean O'Brien made that decision. It suggests that there might be a disconnect between the leadership of the Teamsters nationally and the rank and file, in particular the folks that represent their state chapters, their state affiliates. Look, I think the Harris-Walz campaign saw this as a potential scenario, maybe even as a likely scenario, and they did their politics well because while the National Teamsters came out with no endorsement, the Teamsters in critical battleground states like Nevada, like Wisconsin, among a few others, came out in support of Harris-Walz. Now, I didn't hear any Teamsters in battleground states come out in support of Trump. Furthermore, I didn't hear of any support coming out of the Black Caucus that's a part of the Teamsters. And so I think it points to the reality, which is that there is a unity coalition that seems to transcend organizations. I mean, it takes a lot for the rank and file to break ranks with their leadership and to say, nah, y'all got this one wrong, and the folks in Nevada, in Wisconsin, and a few other states decided to do that. That is an incredible demonstration of support for the Harris-Walz campaign. I think it waters down the national endorsement. It almost makes that, old news, right? The reality is that the Harris-Walz campaign has more Teamster union support than the Trump-Vance campaign. And the Harris-Walz campaign is taking advantage of that and already has taken to social media to celebrate the fact that they have won some support from the Teamsters, and some, as you know, is better than none.
Well, what we know about the Teamsters is, obviously its members are mixed politically. A lot of white males are in the Teamsters, but we haven't seen regional or local Teamsters come out and endorse Trump. That's curious to me. So the same folks, obviously, who were fighting against a Harris endorsement haven't come out to state that they firmly support Trump. What do you make of that? Is that suspicious to you?
Well, I mean, look, quite frankly, a lot of these unions you would think would come out and support Harris, in part because the Biden-Harris administration has been the most pro-union administration in U.S. history. It is something that President Biden repeats often on the campaign trail. It's a pledge that Vice President Harris has made to be a strong defender of the unions. There are a number of other unions that have come out in support. When I think of SEIU, when I think of a number of others, they are throwing down in critical battleground states. And so, the union world is diverse. Unions are not a monolith. As you mentioned earlier, the Teamsters union is very white. And there are some strong conservative undercurrents, right? And so what's so exciting about this race is that not only is the Harris-Walz campaign intent on reshaping the electoral map, but they are also, creating calls for change within constituencies that historically supported mostly Democrats.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, these Teamsters are organized, as you said, in the battleground states, and even states like New York, Long Beach, and Miami, where, obviously not battleground states, but important states with important races like down ballot races that are taking place. Speaking of endorsements, you have this uncommitted group of Democrats primarily in Michigan and some other states. These are folks who are protesting the administration's handling of the war in Gaza. There was some suspicion that maybe they would endorse Kamala Harris after many of them said at the convention they were ready to vote for her. But now we're hearing they are not going to endorse her. They're telling their voters not to vote for Donald Trump because he bragged about accelerating the genocide against Palestinians. And they're also saying don't vote for a third party candidate because that'll be a vote for Donald Trump. So are they just advising their members or the people that follow them not to vote for any presidential candidate? I'm a little confused by their statements.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you got to take a win where you can get one. I read what was posted on social media today from leaders of the uncommitted movement, and essentially they were saying very clearly that they oppose Donald Trump. Let's be emphatically clear. They oppose a second Trump presidency. They said in their statement that at this time, they cannot support Vice President Harris because Vice President Harris is unwilling to make any hard commitments, the kind of hard commitments that they're looking for in terms of, providing military equipment to Israel. They're looking for a hard change in policy, a change in policy that many folks have said is just not possible for a sitting vice president to take. And also keep in mind, and the vice president mentioned this earlier this week during the National Association of Black Journalists conversation she had with our colleagues, Jaron, Eugene, and Tanya. She mentioned that first things first, we got to get a hostage deal. First things first, we got to bring the hostages home. She did hint at some conversations that are being had behind the scenes, some private conversations. But this is as far as she went in terms of talking about any potential scenarios that may be on the table.
Yeah, when we come forward, I want to talk about that NABJ interview. Didn't make as much news when VP sat down with the National Association of Black Journalists in the same way that Donald Trump made news when he went to their convention over the summer and spoke to three of their journalists, obviously creating a hailstorm when he suggested that Kamala Harris had just become Black, that she was, something else. She was Indian, and then all of a sudden she became Black. Dominated the news cycle for several days, and yet the VP sat down with NABJ. Pretty tame. Also, there's some reports out about her willingness to do those kinds of interviews. Some in her team thinking that she should do more, that is, sit down with traditional journalists, and others saying no. Why? Take your message to the people the way you've been doing on social media in these smaller gatherings with local media outlets and local media, reporters and correspondents. So I want to talk to Dr. Nee, who's a member of NABJ, about the strategy that Kamala Harris is using in terms of her interactions with the media. When we come forward, KBLA Talk 1580.
Listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
To help combat climate change, LADWP is helping neighborhoods have better access to electric vehicles by awarding nearly $130 million in EV rebates to customers just like you. From big savings on used EVs to building new charging plazas, LADWP is charging ahead to help all Angelenos experience the benefits of EVs. Get rebates of up to $4,000 for a used EV and $1,750 for a charger. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys. Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys. How about we drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and Sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is
grab the keys.
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR on all 2024 Silverado 1500, Blazer EV, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Colorado models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 12.7%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
Hey, LA residents, it's planting season and the perfect time to get shade trees growing around your home. LADWP and City Plants are giving every resident up to 7 free trees. That's right, 7 free trees delivered right to your door. Trees are great for the environment, help improve air quality, and can help you save on your bill when you use less air conditioning to stay cool indoors. Learn more at ladwp.com/free trees. That's ladwp.com/free trees.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613.
We're back, and Dr. Nee Corte is joining me. He is KBLA's national political correspondent, and he's also the host of A More Perfect Union. That's an hourly political and current affairs show you can listen to and watch right here on KBLA every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. PST. He's also a professor, a scholar, and an author. He's written a definitive book on our vice president. He's traveled with her to Africa, and he's been on many planes with her, covering her as a journalist. He is a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. So glad to be in conversation with you, Dr. Nee. In this last 10 or so minutes, I want to talk about the media, because the media has been beating up on Kamala Harris, the media that you and I both are a part of, saying she's not sitting down to traditional interviews. She's not allowing herself to be unscripted. She's only, going to these rallies where there are teleprompters, or, going to these small venues where she can, read notes or follow notes. And then she sits down with NABJ, doesn't make as much noise as Donald Trump did when he sat down with them. But what do you make of this clamor that's happening in the what I'll call legacy or corporate media, that Harris is not sitting down with journalists and not answering questions about her policies?
Well, Areva, I think it's important to set the record straight, and you know this, but our listeners and viewers may not know this, that there's a press pool that travels with the vice president everywhere she goes. And for everything that's on her official schedule, the press pool is right there observing her and prepared, oftentimes shouting questions at the vice president, and she has been responsive to those. And she's done interviews. I suspect that tonight, when she does the event in Michigan with Oprah Winfrey and Governor Gretchen Whitmer, that there will probably be a sit-down component of that program. And Oprah's one of the best interviewers out there. No, she's not a hard news interviewer, but she has a reputation of gleaning insights from a wide range of people that she speaks to. And so I think part of this is the media elites that want their time with her, and she's working under a compressed timeline. She's only been the Democratic nominee for a few weeks, and she's inherited a campaign. She's had to pick a vice president. There's a lot of stuff that she's had to do. And I don't know how many people had a chance to see the NABJ interview, but it was very well done. It was a very well-organized conversation between our colleagues over at Politico and NPR and the GRIO. So you saw a mix of legacy organizations as well as the Black press that were a part of that conversation. And there were a lot of really great insights I think people can glean. There were some extraordinary moments. I'm thinking about her reaction to the question around Springfield, Ohio, and that conspiracy theory that is continuing to create an unsafe environment for too many of our fellow Americans. Over 30 bomb threats called in to government buildings and schools and hospitals and the like in Springfield, Ohio. Well, the vice president had a response for that, and she said, plainly that it is a crying shame. And she reminded us of the young kids where it happened to be picture day for them. And on an occasion that so many of us can relate to, being, dressed to the nines and ready to take our school pictures, a number of them had to evacuate their schools because they weren't safe, right? And all because of this conspiracy theory that the former president and his vice presidential nominee and his supporters continue to peddle. Areva, I was in the spin room after the presidential debate last week, and I put this question to Senator Rick Scott of Florida, to Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, and to a number of other Republicans that would talk to me, and they were still supporting this big lie, that has been debunked.
That you asked them? Did you ask them, was it true, or why are they spreading this false narrative?
Yeah, I mean, what do they make of this conspiracy theory, that is being spread? It's been debunked. You've had the mayor of the town, you've had the Republican governor, you've had the local police all say it's not true, but yet and still you have the former president and his supporters that say it is true, right? And you know what it is? It's good politics for them, peddling in political grievance.
How did they respond, Dr. Need? They say, we saw it on television, because that's how Donald Trump responded. Oh, no, I saw it on television.
I mean, that's exactly how they responded. They responded saying, well, Senator Vance's constituents, had said as much, right? I mean, they acted as if the facts were not the facts. And so, I think while the vice president's conversation with the National Association of Black Journalists, while that conversation certainly hasn't garnered as much attention as the spectacle that former President Trump created when he spoke to NABJ members in Chicago, you can't deny the substance of it. For all the people complaining, oh, she's not talking enough about policy and we don't know where she stands. She talked policy. She talked about a lot of the issues that folks in our communities are talking about at their kitchen tables, and will continue to do so. But this is the deal. Vice President Harris has already proven she's going to do it on her terms. I think the press corps is going to have to adjust a little bit. It's not that she's running away. She's not running away from talking to the press, right? She is talking to the press. She's just not giving everybody what she wants. And everybody's not going to get what they want between now and Election Day.
It's interesting, Dr. Need, the argument about her not talking enough about policies. You wonder, has anybody ever read a policy statement that's been issued by VP Harris on her website, on the various channels that they issue these policy statements, because they're there. Anybody that's really interested in policy can find out exactly what her policy is. So then you'll have people on the opposite of that. You'll say, well, elections aren't about policies, that everyday people don't care about the policies. It's a vibe. And I remember when Trump was running against Biden, there was a big article in the New York Times that said Biden is a list, meaning he was a list of his policies, and Trump is a vibe. And the conclusion of the article was Trump is winning because he's a vibe. He's not a list. So, we've seen this kind of double standard and this hypocrisy used when it comes to Kamala Harris, from the beginning of her career. It's not ending, but this time around, what's clear is that the American people, I think, are seeing through it. The American people are not demanding that she do anything other than what she's been doing. And it seems to be irritating some of these traditional legacy media outlets, because she is going into battleground states and she's talking to local reporters. She's doing local interviews in those states because her team knows that if you live in Philadelphia, you're much more likely to be tuned in to a local journalist from your town than you are to a cable news station. And we know over the last decade or so, cable news stations have lost huge amounts of their viewers, as all appointment television, as we call it, has lost viewership. So I'm glad to see she's not allowing this media corps that's trying to score their own awards, right? Trying to get their own accolades because they catch the candidate in some kind of gotcha moment, but that she is continuing to talk to the people on her campaign, on the campaign trail in various ways. And the message is getting out. So I'm not talking to folks saying I don't understand the policy. In fact, as you said, at NABJ and other places, she's being crystal clear about, her opportunity economy, being crystal clear about where she stands on abortion, where she stands on immigration. She's been clear. And for folks who still feel like they don't know enough, please visit the website. Please get one of those lists that the New York Times, knocked Joe Biden for and read them. because all that information is there.
And I would also add, pick up Kamala, the Motherland, and Me. I say this as a service to the community, right? I mean, I went and covered Vice President Harris in Africa and did not intend, as you know, Areva, I didn't intend to write a book. When I came back and looked through my notes, what I saw was so compelling. I thought, what a shame if the people of the United States, the people around the world didn't know what happened here. And so I rolled up my sleeves and I got to work. And this book includes an exclusive one-on-one interview with Vice President Harris that I did just in May of this year. So for all the people out there complaining, oh, she doesn't do interviews, well, she did my interview, and it was quite compelling. And I'm honored to be a conduit to put it on the page for generations and generations to come.
No, thank you for doing that, and thank you for lifting up what is happening. It's so easy in this election for people to knock Kamala Harris for what she's not doing. We know Donald Trump held to a totally different standard. He calls an alleged press conference media down to his golf course, his private villa, and he just repeats his same old talking points over and over and over again, and then hurls insults at any journalist that deign to ask him any serious questions. So I don't know if you want to call that a press conference. I'm not sure. That's what people, consider to be press worthy, or giving someone an opportunity to really answer questions, because we know Donald Trump doesn't do that. He just repeats his talking points over and over again. I have to just say, Dr. Nee, I am incredibly proud of the campaign that Kamala Harris is running, that Tim Walz is running, that, this Democratic slate from the president down to a tremendous number of local candidates are really getting the message out that this race is so important and our democracy is at stake. So thank you for your contributions. Thank you for the great work you do every day right here on KBLA. Make sure you check him out. It's called A More Perfect Union. It's at 1 p.m. PST every day. And check him out on all social media platforms, and make sure you pick up that book. I think we have a copy of it on the screens. We want to make sure that folks, if you have not already done so, that you get it. Kamala, the Motherland, and Me. All right, when we come forward, more about Black women and our health. We're dying and we don't have to. What is going on? Got two experts here to help us figure it all out. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
Thanks, Areva.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.